Iskcon found the church of Party. Iskcon BIBPT found the church of Party. Jayom Vishnu Param Superiorika Charasrota. Shata Srishimat, Bhakti Siddhanta Gosai Marasin Prabhupada Thakur Ki, Ananta Koti Krishna Vindiki, Ramacharya Haridas Thakur Ki, Prince Paul Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar, श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त की श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरी गोवर्धन की ब्रजभूमि श्री वृंदावन धाम की मथुरा धाम की गंगा मैया यमुना माई की भक्ति देवी तुलसी महारानी की श्री धाम मायापुर धाम की नवद्वीप धाम की पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की लॉर्डशिप श्री श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा महारानी की श्रील प्रभुपाद मेहदन बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन महोत्सव की श्रील प्रभुपाद मैराथन की गीता जयंती की श्री श्री राधा रमणेश्वर की गौर निताय प्रेमानंदी all glories to the Sambhava Gosses all glories to the Sambhava Gosses all glories to the Sambhava Gosses all glories to Shri Gren Garanga all glories to Shri Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Aditya Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Krishna. I think Buddhavan was supposed to give a lecture, but he's not well, so Lenita requested him and read translation from Hare Krishna. Reading from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, Volume 1, text 29 and 30. जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद जय द्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंद जय द्वैत चंद्र जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद जय द्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंद जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद जय द्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंद जय द्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंद मायावादी कर्मनिष्ठा कुतर्किक गण मायावादी कर्मनिष्ठा कुतर्किक गण निंदक पसंदीयता पदुया अधमा निंदक पसंदीयता पदुया अधमा शैशव मादक्ष दानपलैला शैशव मादक्ष दानपलैला शैवन्य तसबारे चुनिते नारिला शैवन्य तसबारे चुनिते नारिला मायावादी कर्मनिष्ठा कुतर्किक गणा मायावादी कर्मनिष्ठा कुतर्किक गणा निंदक पासंदीयत पदुय अधमा निंदक पासंदीयत पदुय अधमा शैशव मादक्ष दानपलैला शैशव मादक्ष दानपलैला शैवन्य तसबारे चुनिते नारिला शैवन्य तसबारे चुनिते नारिला मायावादी कर्मनिष्ठा कुतर्किक गणा मायावादी कर्मनिष्ठा कुतर्किक गणा निंदक पासंदीयत पदुय अधमा निंदक पासंदीयत पदुय अधमा शैशव मादक्ष दानपलैला शैशव मादक्ष दानपलैला शैवन्य तसबारे Chunite narila.
Sevanyata sabhare chunite narila.
Prabhuji.
Mayavadi kamanishta kutakika gan.
Mayavadi kamanishta kutakika gana.
Nindaka pashandiyata budayatham.
Nindaka pasandiyata budayatham.
Sei sabha madhukaksha dhana pailala.
Sei sabha madhukaksha dhana pailala.
Sei vanyata sabhare chunite narila.
Sei vanyata sabhare chunite narila.
Mayavadi kamanishta kutakika gana.
Mayavadi kamanishta kutakika gana.
Nindaka pashandiyata vaduya adama.
Nindaka pasandiyata vaduya adama.
Sheshava mahadaksha dana palayla.
Sheshava mahadaksha dana palayla.
Sevanyata sabhare chunite narila.
Sevanyata sabhare
chunite narila.
Mayavadi karmanishta kutakika gana.
Mayavadi karmanishta kutakika gana.
Nindaka pasandiyata paduyadama.
Nindaka pasandiyata paduyadama.
Sei sabha mahadaksha dana palayla.
Sei sabha mahadaksha dana palayla.
Sei vanyata sabhare chunite narila.
Sei vanyata sabhare chunite narila.
Mayavadi karmanishta kutakika gana.
Mayavadi karmanishta kutakika gana. Nindaka pasandiyata paduyadama. Sei sabha mahadaksha dana palayla. Sei vanyata sabhare chunite narila. Thank you. Who told me? Mayavadi, the impersonalist philosophers. Karmanishta, the fruitsy brokers. Katarkika gana, the false logicians. Nindaka, the blasphemers. Pasandi, non-devotees. Yata, all. Paduya, students. Adama, the lowest class. Sei Sabha, all of them. Mahadaksha, the very expert. Dana, running. Palayla, went away. Sevanya, that. All of them. That all of them. Chunite, touching. Nirala, could not. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Prabhupada ki. The impersonalists, fruitsy brokers, false logicians, blasphemers, non-devotees, and those among the students' community are very expert in avoiding the Krishna consciousness movement. And therefore, the inundation of Krishna consciousness cannot touch them. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Like Mayavadi philosophers in the past, such as Prakasananda Saraswati of Benares, modern impersonalists are not interested in Lord Chaitanya's Krishna consciousness movement. They do not know the value of this material world. They consider it false and cannot understand how the Krishna consciousness movement can utilize it. They are so absorbed in impersonal thought that they take it for granted that all the spiritual variety is material, because they do not know anything beyond their misconception of the Brahma Jyoti. They cannot understand that Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is spiritual, and therefore beyond the conception of material illusion. Therefore, whenever Krishna incarnates personally or as a devotee, the Mayavadi philosophers accept him as an ordinary human being. This is condemned in the Bhagavad Gita 9.11. Avajananti mamuda manusam tanumasritam param bhavam ajananto mama bhutam maheshwaram. Fools deride me when I descend in the human form. They do not know my transcendental nature as the Supreme Lord of all that being. There are also other conscrupulous, I don't know how to call this, persons who exploit the Lord's appearance by posing as incarnations to cheat the innocent public. An incarnation of God should pass the test of the statements of the Shastras and also perform uncommon activities. One should not accept the rascal as an incarnation of God, but should test his ability to act as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For example, Krishna taught Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, and Arjuna also accepted him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But for our understanding, Arjuna requested the Lord to manifest his universal form, thus testing whether he was actually the Supreme Lord. Similarly, one must test a so-called incarnation of Godhead, according to the standard criteria. To avoid being misled by an exhibition of mystic powers, it is best to examine a so-called incarnation of God in the light of the statements of the Shastras. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is described in the Shastras as an incarnation of Krishna. Therefore, if one wants to imitate Lord Chaitanya and claim to be an incarnation, he must show evidence from the Shastras about his appearance to substantiate his claim. Sorry, my English is a little poor. Please forgive me. So it's very interesting verse from Adillah. Prabhupada says here, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to Benares with his followers, like Sanatana Goswami was there, where Sanatana Goswami met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was dancing and chanting with his devotees and associates. And there were some Mayavadis and Mayavadi leaders, like Prakasananda Saraswati was one of the topmost Mayavadi leaders at that time. And when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was dancing and chanting, Mayavadis were asking so many questions to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is only chanting and dancing, why is not reading from all these scriptures? So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was questioned by Prakasananda Saraswati that what kind of sannyasi he is. Then obviously Chaitanya Mahaprabhu defeated. As we know, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, non-different from Radha Krishna. So, as we can understand, in this age of Kali, there are so many Prakasananda Saraswati. But obviously, he was teaching. But here we can see there are so many people coming here and arguing. They do not know about Krishna consciousness. They got zero understanding about Krishna. So best thing we can do, we can just chant and dance like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did in front of them, in front of 60,000 Mayavadis. So chant Hare Krishna and make others happy. Obviously, we can be happy by chanting Hare Krishna and we can make others happy like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did. Also, we can see in Srimad Bhagavatam in 12th canto when Shukadeva Goswami is explaining about Kali Yuga. He's telling to Parikshit Maharaj about Kali Yuga. So Kali Yuga is very powerful. The best thing we can do, we can just chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Kali Kale Nama Rupa Krishna Avatara, because Krishna is appeared in the age of Kali on the holy name. So we chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, be happy and make others happy. So Well, this is marathon now. We are doing the basics. We are distributing Prabhupada books. That's the best thing we can do. We got very little knowledge. Obviously, we have to read Prabhupada books to make others understand. But Prabhupada is not different from his book. Prabhupada is here in his book. So if we distribute Prabhupada books, so we can make others happy and we can make others understand about Krishna. So sorry, I wasn't prepared to give lecture. So Jen Thakur requested me to read Chaitanya Chaitanya. I read it. Did my duty. Thank you very much. Any questions on this purport? On this verse? I'll try to answer. If I can't, I'll also promise you to answer the questions.
Just to do something from inside.
Do you understand it?
So what are we doing now? Finish class?
Mahaprasadi Govinda. You say something about what you say.
Say your experience.
Hare Krishna.
See, one time Srila Prabhupada, he was describing the endeavors of the preacher. Actually, in Gita, Krishna says that one should actually not preach to the non-devotees, to the blasphemers, to the Mayavadis. Prabhupada, in one conversation, he says, actually, we disobey Krishna's orders. We actually go out and preach to everybody, at risk. But because we take that risk, then Krishna is already sold. So we see that Krishna himself, he doesn't, like Gauranga Mahaprabhu, he is avoiding the Mayavadis. He's preaching through chanting and dancing. But we see the followers of Srila Prabhupada, we see Srila Prabhupada how he deals with the Mayavadis. Many times he shouts at them. On many occasions, people became very bewildered. And they say, yo, Swamiji, he gets very angry, doesn't he? One time in Delhi, and Srila Prabhupada, he started arguing with this young boy. And he started getting angry and angry and angrier. And some people started walking out of the auditorium. Afterwards, his servant asked Prabhupada, said, why did you get angry? And Prabhupada said, I cannot tolerate someone who is envious of Krishna. So the preacher, through the mood of compassion, he is the book distributor, the person who is giving discourse, Shyam Prabhu is giving, or just the person who is the devotee. By just their behavior, one can actually change the heart of even a Mayavadi. But the only one can actually change the heart, as we've been hearing from Bhakti Vishnu Madhava Maharaj, who's now in Amsterdam. The only way we can change the heart is if our heart is actually changed. The only way our book distribution is effective, the only way our practice of Krishna consciousness is effective, is if actually our heart is being changed. In fact, it's said in 2nd canto Bhagavatam, that person who is not affected by this Krishna consciousness movement, by this Krishna consciousness philosophy, certainly his heart is made of steel, a steel-framed heart. So when we are out there in the cold, against the elements, distributing the books, then we have to draw on some higher realization, higher knowledge, because simply distributing books based on our own material energy, the physical strength of our body or the strength of our own enthusiasm, as we know, we go out on books. I remember the first time I went out on books. Came back from Australia, and those of you who remember Tarun Krishna, very wonderful devotee, he was goading me. He said, you know, you've been a devotee for many years since you were a kid, but you're not really doing anything, you know? You should go out on books. And then my wife, she didn't have work when we came back so much. So she would be going out on books. And then he would even tease me more. So I said, okay, one day I'll go. So, we proposed to know the philosophy, we've been practicing for many years, so you have this false sense of pride. Yeah, you know Krishna consciousness, how difficult can it be? So we went Covent Garden. And I remember the first half an hour, I almost felt like I had no clothes on. I felt like I was naked on the street. I couldn't even say English properly when I was trying to stop people on the street. Normally I can talk no end. And then I realized I was actually drawing on my own ability. I was actually drawing on my realizations of Krishna consciousness. So then I tried to go internal, pray to the spiritual masters, pray to my Diksha Shiksha Gurus, and my Shiksha Guru, Tarun Krishna Guru, books. And then for the next 2 hours we distributed, it was like £50 worth of books, something like that. And I understood the actual principle of preaching. The principle of preaching is not trying to convince someone through your own ability. It's actually just giving that person Krishna. Not mixed with your own motives, your own doubts, your own misgivings, but actually just giving Krishna. The way that Krishna has been sold to you. I remember one time I was talking to Bhaktivedanta Maharaj in Mayapur, and I was saying, what is the essence of preaching? And he said, the essence of preaching is to give that Krishna that you understand. That Krishna, that understanding of the philosophy that you know without doubt you've accepted. That you give. And anything above that, you try and stay away from. Because otherwise you go into this area of doubt. So when you're preaching on the street, I'm sure many of you will be coming across many of these personalities. Impersonalists, fruitive workers, false logicians, blasphemers, non-devotees. The lowest amongst the student community. Of course, we know the student community, what they did last night. This is how the students are behaving in today's society. Of course, students, government, everyone is out there for themselves. The students are out there for themselves. The government is out there for themselves. No one is actually going out there and giving. Everyone is out there taking. And when they don't get what they want, what do? They react in an unsavory way. What does the devotee do when he doesn't get what he wants? He tries to use another angle, use another tactic. So the way we actually behave on the street, the way we actually approach people, the way we actually deal with them, will actually be the best preacher. Because actually by our dealing, by our interaction, by our behavior, they'll have confidence. Oh, here's such a nice person, such a cultured person. Such a friendly person. If they think that this book is worthwhile, I've taken this book, I might as well read this book. Otherwise, simply, of course, Prabhupada says the book itself will do its work, and that's there. But in this day and age, what we see is people don't have much trust in anything. So to build that trust takes a relationship. So those 2-3 minutes of that person's time you've had to stop them on the street or knocked on their door. How you present yourself is so important. So here we see in this section of Chaitanya Charitamrita. We get the understanding of the actual principle of Lord Gauranga coming down and preaching, and his methods of preaching. And as Shyam Prabhu is saying, by the enthusiasm of his chanting and dancing, he melted hearts. So by our enthusiasm in our service, we actually can melt hearts. Just like I was watching online yesterday at work. When I was doing work, I was listening to we were playing the 40th anniversary videos. Once the broadcast is finished, we play them online. So yesterday they were playing, I don't know if those of you remember when Dear Shantaprabhu came here, he showed a slideshow of Prabhupada, really old pictures. So I was watching, and I was looking at the pictures, and I saw this was life. You couldn't just help feel just attracted by the, how do you say, the colourful nature of what was going on at that time. So I have to leave now. I have to go to work. I'd like to actually thank Shyam Prabhu for coming and stepping in. I don't know if any of you have ever done this before, but actually having to step in without actually having any preparation is very difficult, especially giving class here at Soho Street. I've met with many devotees, and they say to me one of the most daunting places to give classes at Soho Street. Because this is a preaching centre. So everyone has that mood of preaching, so therefore to give a class at Soho Street is not very easy. So I'd like to thank him for taking up that service. So we wish everyone a good day today on books. Please remain strong in spiritual life, and if you come across any duality or difficulty in the mind when you're preaching out there, please share it with your friends. Don't keep it locked up in your mind, because this is where doubts and misgivings come in. So Krishna consciousness is about sharing. You're sharing on the street this philosophy to others. You should also share in the temple amongst your friends. In this way you actually build strength. So thank you very much. Sorry for speaking for too long. Now, this is your turn. I have to go. You read the scores. The scores, Joe's scores.
We still have 15 minutes.
I see. Okay. We have 15 minutes. So Bhakti and Julia can say some Sankirtan stories. There you go. Bhakti and Julia Ki. Because she's one of the most valuable book distributors. Selfless servant. She doesn't even put her name on the score sheet. She's so selfless. So she can give some stories. Maybe Kashinath Prabhu can give one or two stories as well. And then we can wrap it up. Okay. Mother?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I have many stories. Some come to mind was a particular lady yesterday. I stopped her in the street and she was quite emotional. And when I got speaking with her, she was just starting a new job, and she had a particularly hard time with her previous job. And when we got talking, she was vegetarian, so I handed her higher taste, and she went, wow, this is great, this is what I really like. I'm feeling really, really low. I said, oh, what's up? She said, oh, this job. So I said, this is okay. So she said, I need a hug. So we hugged in the street. And she started to, tears were rolling. She said, I was just so happy just to meet you, being friendly. And she was just amazing. Her name was Sarah. And she said, just talking to you today just made my day. And she said, I haven't got much money, but I'll give you what I have. So I just said, okay, that's no problem. And she'll come back and give you some more money. And she's like, but I'm looking for somewhere to eat, and I'm a vegetarian. I said, wow, I have this really cool place. It's called Govinda's. You just go down here 5 minutes, it's just here on Soho Street. And she said, that's great. She said, I'm really so grateful to you. And I said, but don't worry about coming back with the money. Just pop it in when you're in the restaurant. Just put the donation in the box, and that's what she did. So she was it was an inspiration, because you just when you're sort of because it was a tough day for me yesterday. People weren't stopping, and to have a hug on the street with somebody that you didn't know was just amazing. Just made me think. So that was one of the stories. Another one was a few days ago. His name's Phil. I reckon he must have been about 17, and I could see him afar, and he was bouncing around the block. I stopped him, So he stopped, and I just said, do you know what karma is? And he goes, yeah, I'm really sort of fired up. So he said, do you know what this is? And he pulled out this, from his neck, he got this cross, and it was all made of beads, and he had it made in Ethiopia. So it's from Ethiopia, and he was really proud of this piece. And we got talking, and I handed him the vase, and I just had the vase in his hand. And he goes, wow, this is amazing. That you're just the best. And we just got talking, and he actually sort of touched my heart, because he said, this is the best gift you could have given me today. He also didn't have too much money. So I just said, that's okay, just give what you can, and then when you come to the temple, just pop it in the box and like that. And he just said, and he was jumping up and down, and it was just amazing. Everybody was looking at, wow, what's going on here? And he said, this is the best Christmas present you could have ever given me, because he said, I needed something like you to start me to realise that, I need to sort of enhance my spiritual life. And so he said to me to try and come to the temple like that, and that was also an amazing time. I have another story. It actually doesn't relate to the book marathon, because I go out most Saturdays with weekend warriors, and it was back in the summer. I've got to tell you this because it doesn't just happen to human beings, animals also get the holy name. And we're in Ealing, and we were dancing and singing, as well as giving books out and stuff like that. And there was this lady, she was blind, and she had this blind dog. And the kirtan was so amazing. It got all the people in the shop. I was approached by lots of people in the shop, keep going because it's making us happy. And this lady crossed the zebra crossing, and we were giving out books and kirtan. And this dog had just stopped, just literally stopped, and just staring at us. And the lady was going, I can't stand this, I can't stand it. Please, just move. And he just stood, just listening to the kirtan, and he was just relishing. You could see him just relishing in the kirtan, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And she was going, please, I can't listen to this anymore. And he was just stood there, and she was trying to yank him, and he wouldn't stay. He was being really stubborn for 5 minutes. He was just sat, just listening to the kirtan. She just didn't, want to hear it, but he just loved it, and we were singing louder to him, the more louder, the more cross she was getting. It was amazing. So sort of being out on the street, a point is also being out on the street that, we have, when we're in the temple, we're getting, having Krishna's association and association of devotees, and it's ecstatic. So we should take that sort of feeling, that staticness outside to distribute Srila Prabhupada's books, because, not to lock it and keep it inside ourselves, we should really, really share it, because there's so many people, and there's been so many people on the street I've met in the time that I've actually been distributing books over sort of 18 months now, that they need us to give the beloved Krishna and Prabhupada as well, because, for me, that's the best, and it's all about sort of giving to everyone, to be able to get to where we are as well, to be joyful in our sort of Krishna consciousness. So, anyone else like to tell a story?
Yes.
Yeah. Ruth, have a story? Andika, you have a story. That's okay. Come on. That's it. I think I never met you. Are we finished?
You have read this course?
We have some schools from the Govinda's restaurant. We served 200 guests, and we had come in actually £1,570.99. The shop schools. Okay, out of the social? Okay, there's a total of.
I don't know whether you're going to read that or.
The devotees that went out on the street yesterday, starting with Kachanat Das. He distributed 2.7 book points. 2.7 book points, and distributed 3 small, 4 medium, for 14 Lakshmi points. Ishwara Krishna Das, he distributed 5 small, 4 medium books, 7 Lakshmi points and 303.25 Lakshmi points. Back to Pasha, he distributed 1 medium book, Lakshmi 12 Lakshmi and 4.5 book points. Oh no, he did also 2 Mahabig. Shashtadan sponsorship distributed 1 medium hard, 1 big and 2 Mahabig for 5.5 book points. Dr. Nayan had 16 Lakshmi points, distributed 2 small books by 11 medium books for 6.6 book points. Baba Bhakti Counseling Group, Lakshmi was 21, distributed 5 small, 10 medium, 1 big for 7.25 book points. Akashini Radhika Devi Dasi, Lakshmi points was 17, she distributed 3 medium, 3 Mahabig for 7.5 book points. Mr. Prayesh Patel distributed 35 small, Lakshmi was £28, Lakshmi, and 8.7 book points. Bika Devi Dasi distributed 2 small, 5 medium, 3 Mahabig for 9 book points. Kancha Bali Devi Dasi distributed 10 Mahabig, 50 Lakshmi pounds, 20 book points. Back to Kalis, distributed 36 small, 10 medium, 3 Mahabig, or 20 book points. Murli Manohar Das distributed 11 Mahabig for 60 Mahalakshmi and 22 book points. Bhakti Rajam distributed 3 small, 29 medium, 1 big, 3 Mahabig for 22.25 book points and 60 Lakshmi. Bhakti Niket distributed 16 big, 15 Mahabig, 104 Lakshmi for 46 Lakshmi points. Vrindavan Das distributed 14 medium, 26 Mahabig, 137 Lakshmi for 59 book points. Bhakti Alexi distributed 6 medium, 2 big, 34 Maha, 145 Lakshmi and 59 Lakshmi points. Udavadanda Das distributed 7 small, 12 medium, 38 Maha, for 145 Lakshmi points, 83.75 book points. Sachi Kishore distributed 60 Mahabig, 288 Lakshmi for 120 book points. Sandanitai Das distributed 63 Mahabig, 412 pound Lakshmi, 126 book points. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami distributed 122 Mahabig, Lakshmi 727 Lakshmi or 244 book points.
Srila Prabhupada ki. So next. Huh?
Jai Shri Radhavan Sura, Jagannath Baladevan Subhadra, Shri Govardhan and Shri Govardhan. We offer our most respectful obeisances unto you. With a mood of deep gratitude. Appreciation, we request your causeless mercy upon us. For your pleasure, we are endeavoring to distribute the books of your pure devotees in the Prabhupada to the fallen conditioned souls of London. If you so desire, please enable us to cooperate together in mood of selfless service in order to maintain, increase our efforts. Please send more devotees to assist us in bringing many new souls to your Lord's feet. We, your surrendered servants, humbly beg. Srila Prabhupada ki, Sri Radhananda Sir ki, Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maharani ki, Sri Govardhan Govardhan ki, Gaur Premanandi. Prodigies, we need some volunteers for serving prasadam and cleaning the temple.